Hi everybody, Jen Cortez here, and I'm here today to talk about a pretty heavy topic, the topic of trauma and PTSD. And it is a topic that holds a lot of emotion for me as a person because I am a person who has been through a lot of trauma in my life. So trauma being defined as an event or experience that's deeply distressing. So trauma can be so many different things. It can be a violent incident that you witnessed one time. It can be early childhood when you're growing up and your needs aren't being met on a regular basis. Trauma can be a breakup. It can be a loss, a grief, a lost relationship. So there are so many things that we experience, and all of us have experienced trauma, and so your trauma that you might be able to relate to might be different in nature to mine and my journey. However, a lot of times the way that the trauma affects us is quite the same. So today I'm here to share my journey and to share some things that I've learned, because I have learned so much on my own personal path as well as in a professional role, in professional development, researching the effects of trauma on us when we're little people, when we're 0 to 3 and 0 to 5, and how that affects us physically, how it affects us social, emotionally, how it affects our brain development and our ability to function in the world. And I spent a lot of time beating myself up and not understanding really the effects of what trauma does to a person and how it takes its toll. And I've also learned that trauma doesn't just go away over time. The things that we experienced 5, 10, 20 years ago, we can pretend like they're not there. We can stuff them down, but it tends to find its way back up to the surface, and we find ourselves triggered. And I say this because I've been in this situation, and I've been there, and I'm here to say that thankfully, after many years of trying many different things, I've come to learn some things and to find some new tools that have helped me. And I'm here to share that if I can find my way out and overcome some traumatic situations and not let the damn trauma ruin my life, then so can you. And part of my calling in this world, in this lifetime, is to be that person to help guide others out of their trauma. And I spent a lot of years struggling, and my intention and my goal on sharing my story today, although it might be emotional, and I'm gonna just give that as a disclaimer, and it's not easy to share, so bear with me on this. But if I can connect with just one person today, then this is all worth it. And I know that my life purpose has to do with me having gone through a lot of heartache in my life, and a lot of pain, and a lot of feeling isolated, and a lot of beating myself up, and a lot of feeling lost. And I'm here now to say that there is a way out, and you don't have to do it alone. I did a lot of it on my own, and I feel that my journey was much longer as a result. There was a lot more pain, there was a lot more agony. When we have trauma and we have hurt, and maybe it was discrimination that you experienced, maybe you can relate to different stories. Maybe it was something that happened when you were little with your parents. Those things stay stuck in us, and sometimes we forget what they even are, but it's something that keeps us from having good self-esteem, from being able to move forward. It prevents us from wanting to be in certain situations where we know that we're going to be triggered. So just sharing a little bit about myself. As a child, I had a lot of early childhood difficulties, and I grew up in a family where I had inconsistent type parenting, and I had a parent that was very, very controlling, and a lot of bullying behavior. And so I grew up not having a lot of needs met when I was a little one. And a lot of these memories were repressed. And when people would ask me a story would ask me to share them with them what some of my earliest child memories were, I really didn't have memories. And it hasn't been since I was maybe mid-30s into my 40s when I started really uncovering the reason why and digging myself out of this kind of a hole. So I grew up as a really quiet child, and I would look at people and I was very timid and very self-conscious, and I didn't really know why. But I was painfully shy. And as I grew up and started dating, I ended up choosing a lot of partners, a lot of boyfriends who were very controlling and very much bullies. And that was very much what I knew. That was my comfort level. And I ended up being bullied and being in abusive relationships that were not good for me. I consequently married somebody who was a bully as well. And I wanted something better. I knew that I could have something better. There was something inside of me that was saying, this is not right. So I did a lot of things to try to make things better. I saw counselors and therapists, and some of which were really good, and some of which helped me move from one really stuck, yucky feeling a little bit out. But what I found over time was that traditional methods were only helping me to a certain extent. And often I would go to a counseling session and it would be 50 minutes, an hour. We would uncover some stuff. It would be really heavy and really yucky and really painful. And then the session would be over, and I would drive home feeling even worse than when I started. And so I was at a point in my 30s where I just was so tired of it, and I vowed to myself that I would never be in another relationship. Like, I couldn't understand, why do I keep attracting people that are not good for me? I'm such a nice person. I don't want that. I want to have a healthy relationship. I want to have something good. And it wasn't happening. So I started investigating, and I became desperate, and I started looking at alternative methods of healing whatever this pain was. And I thought for so long that I was broken, that I was the problem, that I needed to be fixed. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but it was a really painful place to be. I wanted to run away from myself because it was like stuff that was stuck inside of me, and I couldn't run away. And the way that all this trauma was manifesting in me was a lot of PTSD type symptoms, where I would be sweaty. Certain things would trigger me. I would be all of a sudden sweaty. My stomach would be in knots. I felt like I was going to throw up. I would have like near panic attacks, and I couldn't put my finger on what is wrong with me. I'm not this person. Like, other people can handle this. And outwardly, people did not know this about me. I am a fantastic mom. I was an amazing teacher for a long time in all my work environments. I've always been held in high esteem, but I had moments and I tried to hide them because I didn't know what else to do. And I reached out to the people I was reaching out to, the professionals who were licensed counselors, were only able to help me to a certain extent. So I became more and more frustrated, more and more disillusioned. I started taking it out more on myself. Like, these people are helping, but I'm still not feeling better. I'm still not breaking through. I'm still not feeling like I'm conquering all this. Super hard, super hard. And even now, as I'm talking about it, it's not the way that it used to be, where it was debilitating. But I still feel emotion. I still feel my heart starting to race as I'm talking about it. My mental state is a little bit less clear as I'm talking about this, because emotions are being stirred up. So thankfully, after I divorced, I decided no longer to be in those type of relationships, and I was very careful to not allow, when I attracted a partner that was going to be that same type of unhealthy situation, I was very quick to say, no, this is not what I want. And thankfully, I have evolved beyond that. And I now have an amazing partner, and things are different for me. So I'm very grateful for that. However, just when I think it's finished, because I've worked on my trauma, I end up in a work environment where I have a bully as a boss. And it happened in 2 different occasions. And once again, I'm in a situation where my PTSD symptoms come back, and that those traumas from early childhood come back. And it's the same feeling that I had when I was 5 years old and I didn't know what to do because nobody was there helping me with things that I needed, or because the environment at home was so crazy and I felt like I was that 5-year-old in this panic situation, and I was nearly paralyzed in so many of these situations. So I'm not sure if you can relate to this. Have you ever been in a situation where you feel panicky? I'm an adult, with a master's degree. I'm an educated person. I should not be having these feelings. I should be able to cope with this. There's nothing, I'm not in danger. And so on some levels, I continued to beat myself up because these physical and emotional reactions kept happening and they would be triggered. So in a work environment, when I have a boss talking to me in a similar way that my parents did, that my past boyfriends' husbands did, it all of a sudden triggered those same feelings, those same reactions. So hard stuff. But what I'm here to share with you is until we heal it, it doesn't go away. So those early childhood traumas continue to be an issue for me, unless and until I get to a point where I can fix them and where I can move forward. And I didn't know how to, when I say fix them, through traditional therapy. What I have learned is that we have to feel these emotions, and in order to protect ourselves when they're first happening, we will stuff them down and we put them inside and we run away from them and we hide from them and we look the other way. And that is our self-defense mechanism. And we say sometimes that yesterday's medicine is today's poison. It kept us safe at the time when the trauma was happening, to the extent where I didn't even have memories of my early childhood until recently, until I was able to actually deal with it. And from a spiritual point of view, I have learned things in a very different way. The universe, God, source, spirit, universe, I use those words very interchangeably. But for a long time I was mad at God, and I said, what is going on? I had a childhood that was difficult. I felt alone all the time. I wanted someone to be there for me, to stick up for me. I needed that as a little child when I was 3 years old, 7 years old, 5 years old, and I didn't have it. And what is the matter, God? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you continuing to give me partners that are not supportive, that do the same thing, and bosses that do the same thing? Something must be wrong with me. I must not be good enough. These amazing things, these good partnerships, this amazing life is for other people, but it must not be for me. And for years I went through with this victim type mentality. And it wasn't until I was able to shift my thinking. And now a few things that I know are that the universe, God, source, spirit, universe gives us opportunities to heal the issues and the traumas that are stuck deep inside of us. And until we heal them, we continue to walk into different environments and different situations with different people. Again, not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to heal that. And for a long time, people told me that. And I said, that's bullshit. I'm sick of feeling like shit. I'm sick of feeling bad. I want someone just to be nice to me. Whew, that is a hard lesson to learn. But it's a true story. And I now know that I have walked through this shit and been in such turmoil to the point where so many times I've thought, I don't think I can keep doing this. I don't know who else to turn to. No one is helping me. These things kept coming back to me. So as much as I was going away, I could take myself out of that home environment. I no longer live in that family environment that I did growing up. But the trauma is still inside of me. I can leave that first relationship that I had with a boyfriend. And then guess what? I recreate it, and the universe brings me somebody else, and we choose the next partner that has the same thing. And I take myself out of that situation, and I get into a job where I'm being bullied by a boss, and I can leave that situation, that environment. I can say goodbye to that person. I can do lots of work surrounding that person, and I can realize that person bullied me, not because of who I was, but because who they were. However, the trauma stays stuck inside of me until I have the realization that I have to do something. about these ugly feelings that are inside of me. And I'm taking a deep breath as I'm sharing this with you now, that the feelings when I think about some of the things that have happened to me, my stomach goes into knots. I start feeling like I'm going to throw up. The saliva starts building in my mouth. I get sweaty in my forehead. Over time, my shoulders, my neck, everything hurts. And these are my physical symptoms. And they've come on for me at different times in my life, so severe that they are considered a panic attack. And I'm sharing this again with the intention that your trauma, your specific situations may be completely different from mine. But I can relate to how you feel. I can relate to that nervous, that fight or flight that sets in. That feeling of, I want to run away from myself, but I can't escape myself. And that frustration and that panic and that scaredness of, fuck, I can't even get out of this. Like, how do I do this? All these years have gone by. I just want this to be better. So, with a smile and with lots of emotion and lots of love, I say to you that there is hope. I've learned tools like Yoga Nidra, which has helped me to allow all of this shit, the energy, the bad feelings to flow out. Finding somebody, my first life coach was my first person that helped me to realize that I have to feel these feelings. I have to go dive into them to a certain extent and feel them and sit with them. And for the first time in my life, she sat with me and she did not hand me a box of Kleenex. She said, feel it, continue to feel it even more, feel it, feel it, feel it. And I didn't want to. I wanted to run out of her office. But I didn't. I stayed and I trusted her. And so holding space is the notion of having someone be there with you in your shit and your pain. And holding space is huge. And sometimes we do it for ourselves and sometimes we do it for other people. And as a life coach and an empowerment coach, it's a huge tool for releasing the trauma that is stuck within us. So finding a life coach or finding someone that you can share that with. And again, not to heal, to fix yourself, because I was not broken. But at that time when I was going through that, I felt like I was the person that needed to be fixed. But I just needed to release some fucking shitty emotions that really sucked. And I needed to flip my thinking into seeing that this was actually a blessing. And also to know that you don't have to go through this alone. There are ways of getting out. And through yoga and breathing and through Yoga Nidra of releasing some of these emotions, I have been able to make huge shifts when traditional therapies and years of that and so many different people have not been able to help me. So again, on a spiritual level, these things come back to us not to punish us, but to give us an opportunity to fully heal. And it's kind of like peeling back the layers of an onion. I still get emotional sometimes when I share my stories of trauma, and I can go deeper and I can share more. And the deeper I go, the more I feel. But I'm feeling it on a different level now. I feel it more like a scar, that I can touch it and I feel that and I can see it, but it no longer affects me. And there were times in my life where I wouldn't put myself in a situation, I wouldn't go in certain situations, I wouldn't be around people that reminded me of the people that caused the trauma. I wouldn't put myself in work environments, like teaching environments, because that was one of the environments where I had some trauma and I had a bully that I experienced some bullying. And so I wasn't allowing myself to go into those situations. And now that I've healed them, I'm able to go there, and I'm able to go there with a different awareness. And I'm here to say to you today that if I can do it, so can you. Please reach out. Know that there is a way to make things better, but leaving it alone will not do it. Amazing tools that I can help you with. So please reach out. You can find me on my website at jencortez.com, and I wish you a beautiful day.